Okay, so here's the second part to the Social Security video. Okay, so I already talked about that when you turn a certain age that they debit, they automatically take without your permission approximately $200 for Medicare. Well, my issue with that is, how do you know I want the Medicare? So they're basically forcing you to take the Medicare. So the government got their hand in your pocket if you automatically taking money that I didn't give you permission to take. Now, they haven't updated Social Security or given a raise appropriate, because this is 2026, and the raise that they're giving is like $5 and $10. That is ridiculous, of money that we've earned and worked for. So that's my issue. I want to know the rules and the laws about that from the people in the House of Representatives, because a lot of people walk around and just go with whatever the government say. But fortunately, I was educated in Missouri during my formative years, and I have to give Missouri credit. It has a lot of faults, like all places do. But one thing we got was educated. Reading is so fundamental. You don't know. You can really open up a lot in your understanding reading. So I'm thinking, so you're going to force me to take this Medicare, but I can't afford this Medicare because you steady raising rent. So a lot of seniors that aren't wealthy and don't have everything planned out for them, like I said, they have to go back to work. But a lot of seniors are living paycheck to paycheck. They just existing. Because in Texas, we already discussed, they cap your hours. They cut your hours back. You never know what your hours are going to be. So you're on pins and needles hoping that you get hours for your work week so that you'll have enough money to pay your rent. Okay? So the economy is in the tank. So that means there are no job opportunities. And if you get hired, if you happen to get hired at a fast food or doing maintenance or working over at the stadium doing security, that's not that many hours. That's minimal hours. Nobody is hiring full time anymore with benefits. Those days are over with. So a lot of seniors that I've met in my community, in Arlington, they're like in their 70s and some of them in their 60s. They working, especially the Latino community. They working 80 hours at 2 different places just to make their ends meet. So if somebody like me come in, I'm not gonna get nothing, because they already using up all the hours, and 9 times out of 10 they got a favor in that workplace because they done been there a long time. So that shuts you out. So then I just was told that if I don't get Medicaid, I'm gonna be penalized every month since my birthday for not getting Medicaid. Now, listen to this. This is a catch-22. When I first came here, moved to Texas, I had Missouri Medicaid. But when I moved here to Texas, they told me I wasn't the right age. I was too old for Medicaid. So I lost my Medicaid. But now you're telling me that if I don't give you the $200 for the Medicare, I have to apply for Medicaid. And you're going to penalize me. You're going to take money away from me for each month I don't get the Medicaid, which I might not be approved for the Medicaid because you got to be able to follow in the guidelines. So what I'm telling you guys, this is just like a hamster maze. And a lot of seniors don't pay attention. They just go with it. But I'm looking at this. How are you going to penalize me for something that you wouldn't let me have at first? How do I qualify for it now? So there's a chance I might not qualify. So I also have tried to go for the marketplace. And I did have the marketplace. But I found with the marketplace, most of the places around here, as far as clinics or whatever, they didn't even take the insurance that I had. So they took my marketplace away when I turned of age to qualify for the Medicare, even though I had opted out. I opted out because if you take away $200 out of my benefits, my widow's pension, I'm already struggling, guys, living paycheck to paycheck, okay? So now the government won't take $200 of that. Then I had something that happened to me on New Year's Eve, and it wasn't that great. This complex that I've been living in for like probably 8 years, they pulled my car because they said that the rear tire was over the line, and it was late at night. I probably was coming in from work. It was dark, and they didn't show me a picture or nothing here, but they just said that's what the tow company said. So I had to come up with $400 to get my car out of tow. So that's how Texas operates. This is senior abuse. This is exploitation. I never ever seen no system like this. It's messing me up because, as I said, St. Louis, Missouri, they have their, nobody's perfect. Everybody have their different rules and regulations. But one thing I can say about my hometown, I'm gonna be honest. I keep it real, guys. Y'all know I don't bite my tongue. If you have prejudice and racism everywhere you go. Now in St. Louis, they abused me as far as purchasing properties. I already had a property that I was paying a mortgage on. Then I paid cash for a very nice property in a suburb area, and I guess because I was a black woman or whatever, and we did total renovations on that house, me and my kids. I mean, we gutted that house. We put in all new pipes, all new electricity, siding, roof. I know we spent more than 10 grand on that house. We kind of saved because we did it ourselves. And the little city hall in the municipality of Bell Fountain, they would never give me an inspection. They would never give me an okay on the inspection for that house. So that's a systematic, I need reparations for that. Then the house that I was purchasing, I got what they call steered into that area. And I'm gonna see if I can upload the video where it tells you about steering in St. Louis. When Spanish Lake was where I had the other property. The property I paid cash for was in Bell Fountain Neighbors, and the house I had the mortgage on was in Spanish Lake. Well, my real estate agent steered me in that area because I lived in West County, which was further away from there. But because that was a target areas where all the whites were in flight, and I was looking for a home because my family, my kids were growing up, they were getting larger, so I needed space for them. My real estate agent steered me back to North County. And then I also went back to North County because I had a family member, my daughter's godmother, my niece, insist that I not move further out of the way because she wanted to keep up with my daughter. So anyhow, I got the house at a pretty good, affordable rate because I was educated about that. I made sure I did my homework and looked at the interest rate and everything so that I could afford it and nothing. You know, I have no issues with being able to maintain the house. Well, when I purchased the house, the owner, she was very eager. She was a very motivated seller because she put the keys in my hand before I even went to the closing table. So the whites were in flight. And so we moved into the neighborhood. I noticed that when we moved in, when I moved in on Monday, on Tuesday, when I raised up and opened up my doors for sale, for sale, for sale, for sale, for sale, so all the white folk left. Then about, I want to say maybe 6 years into my mortgage, the bank that I had my loan with, they sold it to somebody else without telling me. And I think that's when the economy tanked. It was like, was that 2008? And then my mortgage became upside down because I ended up, it boosted, raised for some reason. And but the house evaluations, the equity in the house wasn't of value for the cost of the mortgage. So in other words, some of the people that moved out of the neighborhood started turning their homes into Section 8 housing. And so that caused the property value to go down in that neighborhood because you got people coming from the projects, not the projects, the apartment complexes. And if I have a home at market rate, and my neighbor, it has Section 8 housing, that's automatically going to bring my property value down. But my mortgage, for some reason, after Chase Bank sold my loan to the, I forgot who the next mortgage company was, they raised the rate without me even knowing. So that pretty much, after my kids got older, they all decided they wanted to go their own way. And then I lost my son, Martin. So that pretty much forced me out of that house because I wasn't able to maintain it and hold on to it. But it was because of the significant raise of that mortgage. So I'm just saying, as a whole, and I know I'm not the only person going through this. This is not an isolated story I'm telling. But we need to, for real, all talk and all of those legal, that legal jargon. There should no longer be a debate about giving people of color reparations. You've given it to the French. You've given it to the Japanese on our dime. So it's time for you to give people that have a black descendant in them. I am half black and Cherokee. That don't make no difference. The United States, no, they have mistreated people of color. So we need reparations. Then I have one more thing, guys, and then I'm gonna get off and wrap this up. Now, as I said, we were a part of the Michael Brown shooting. It was in a neighboring municipality. It wasn't in the municipalities where I had my homes, but I had family over in that area. So of course we're gonna go over there and see, because it was all on the internet of this young man laying in the street uncovered. That's trauma. They left him laying in that street uncovered. The police didn't care. They didn't even they never called an ambulance to even come to revive his life. So anybody that knows that locally, they put out in the news this fake video saying that Mike had tried to rob the neighborhood store. Well, Mike was a regular in that neighborhood. He was a big guy, so everybody know him. So I know he had more common sense. he didn't have to rob a local store in the neighborhood he lived in. Not that I'm justifying any robbery, because they later came out and said that that was not even him. It was a fabricated video that the police put out. But common sense would tell you this guy was a big, tall guy. If that was his nature, which it was not, because he had just graduated high school and he was going to be the first one in his family to go to college. And so it was a time in his life where he didn't need to be robbing nobody. So, well, at the same time, my son, one of my kids, was over in the neighborhood, over in that area with me. He went to that same store to get him some candy or whatever he was gonna get, because we were out there protesting and part of the protest and just over there supporting our family, because we have family that still to this day lives in that area. And the police took my child and threw him in a car and handcuffed him and held on to him, saying he fit the description of a robbery. And so they plastered my son's face without any proper investigation. He was a minor because he had not turned 18 yet. He was just getting ready to graduate. And so they plastered his face off. The same time, literally, Michael Brown got murdered. They plastered my child's face all over the news. And anybody that knows about St. Louis and that area, it's not as big and massive as Texas. It's a small area. So everybody know everybody. So here go Fox News that next morning got my baby plastered on the TV saying he's a suspect of a robbery. Now, I think this happened on a Saturday. My son was due to graduate high school. His graduation was gonna be that Sunday. So we have graduation, and we're so excited because, man, I went through a lot trying to put 5 boys through high school, graduating, and my daughter. That was a challenge. But anyhow, yeah, he graduates. And then they come and the police just come and take my baby Monday. They violated all kind of rights. Ain't nobody had no warrant. Didn't nobody Mirandize him. We've just experienced so much trauma. And this, I'm not trying to make it sound like it's just my family alone. But part of my healing is to talk about it, because in this nation, our people that are in power, they need to stop abusing power and have a heart and treat us how we deserve to be treated. Nobody at my age should, the way I have contributed to my communities and how I have worked, I should not be having to struggle for anything. I should not have be able to struggle for anything, but systems were put in place to keep me and prevent me, a widow, a single mom, from having something to leave my kids. So, like I said, I'm gonna put a book out, and if you guys think I'm giving up too much information, I'm sorry. This is my way of cleansing, and maybe I can help somebody else, because Texas, I'm telling you, it's the beast. It's really tough here, man. And you're in isolation, because I'm away from home, so I'm isolated most of the time. If I'm not working, I'm pretty much isolated, because it's not like back home where, I could walk around the block or walk to the park, because, Texas kind of widespread, and if you have friends, they're so exhausted. People my age are working as hard as the people that are young. So, all right, guys, like I said, I'm going to write a book. I promise you. I'm going to have a book. All right, guys, love you. Peace.